Okay, hello and welcome everyone. It's Aslam here from the Property Dealmaker, and welcome to our ongoing series called the Property Chronicles, where I speak to other property investors, entrepreneurs, or people just getting started in property, and we listen to some of their stories. And the whole idea here is to get you inspired, give you some ideas on what you could be doing, because most of the time it's things like fear that keep us back. And sometimes when we get to hear stories from other people, it gives us that motivation that, you know what, just maybe I can also do this. So today I've got Jason de Jong on the call, and Jason is originally from Cape Town. And I met him through a consultation. He came through the Property Dealmaker. We did a consultation, and I found that he is involved in the fix and flip market. So in property, for those of you that are completely new, there are various strategies you could be using when you get into property. And the fix and flip is actually one of my favorite ones, especially for people that have limited capital. Right now, there are very few property strategies that you can do with no capital. But this one here, it's with limited capital. It does require some capital. But why I like it is because your money doesn't get stuck in the deal for an extended period of time. When most people think about property investing, they think about investing for the long term. So they get into a deal, they pay a deposit, and now that money is in the deal until you either refinance the property or until you sell it. Whereas with what Jason is doing, the whole idea here is he buys, then he renovates the property, and then he sells it. So at best, he might be holding on to a property, I would say anywhere from about 6 to 9 months. But we're going to get into this interview, and Jason's going to give us some ideas, some tips, and just his background. So, Jason, without further ado, are you doing well today?
I'm well, thank you, yourself, Aslam.
I'm great. Thanks, man. Thanks for making a little bit of time. I know you are on a slight time budget, so we don't want to make this go on too long, but we also want to, just give a whole lot of value so that people can feel motivated. So maybe
100%.
let's start off by you just telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, before we actually get into, talking property. Let's find out who Jason is.
Yeah, so hello, listeners, viewers now there. My name is Jason Young. I'm from Cape Town originally, as Aslam mentioned. I'm married, father of two, and I'm a full-time employee and doing fix and flips on the side. And some of them I've held on to them, and some of them selling them. So yeah, I'm a newbie to the whole game of property. Yeah, so I'm looking for the journey ahead. So far, it's been good to me.
Okay, awesome. And tell me, I hope you don't mind me asking this here, but I ask this question because, sometimes some people have a thing about age. I bought my first property when I was about 24, 25 years old. When I tell people that, they're like, man, I thought you were about 30, and I talk back to like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And, now that sort of gives away my age. But how old are you at the moment?
So I'm 34 years old. I've
Okay.
started property when I was 28, then 29. And from there, it's been a good journey for myself. People say, this one, it looks old, but yeah, I'm actually young. Or
Okay,
it's the other way
awesome,
around.
awesome.
It's the other way around.
Awesome stuff. So tell me, what made you decide to get into property flipping specifically?
I think for myself, the whole deal was around when I watched these YouTube videos and reading some books, the whole Robert Kiyosaki thing. I've been following Chris Krohn. So it was always about buying for the cheap, buying cheap, and then obviously having that platform of equity. I'm always around equity, so I need to have an exit strategy around it. And what made me go into it, I feel passionate about the property game. So actually, I did a lot of things before in my life whereby I renovated some places with some people where I was the laborer for that matter. For those people who don't know, like the boy, like pushing the trolley and all of that, mixing the daga and all of that. So I've seen what this thing has done to their lives. So I wanted the same for myself, to improve myself as well, aside from my personal full-time job. So I wanted something for myself, my family, for a legacy. So one day if I'm not there, they can carry on. They have some platform to work from because I never had that platform when I started off with property or where I started from. way before property. From the background that we have from the whole Cape Flats and all of that, so that shouldn't be something to hold us back. But all in all, it's about property, and then just the return on investment is what excites me. And then your vision, when your vision comes to life, that's something incredible. When you see your vision come to life on that thing, especially with the house that I flipped so far. Some of them I've sold them. Some of them I've kept them. Yeah, just doing it proper. That was yeah.
Okay,
I know I've
awesome.
said a lot. I think I was ahead of time with the questions going forward.
Yeah, no, don't worry about that. So, but you said something that's very interesting, which I didn't know, and that's why, as much as people like me to give them preparation questions, I like to sort of find out, because sometimes I'm only really finding out about the person when I get onto calls like this. So you said you were a laborer. I'd like to know when were you doing that? When were you a laborer? Because you said you were a laborer and you were helping other people on their renovations.
Yeah. Look, it all started. After school, you don't know what you need to do with your time, life. So eventually, I just went into construction. So what happened was, you ask God, you always question God, like, why am I doing this hard labor jobs? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Because you have to mix here. You always come home late every day and go home early, and you come home with some backaches and all of that. No, from the construction and all of that. So now that I'm grown up, now that I'm doing this flipping, I can see now why God has given me that platform,
Okay.
actually to excel where I am now. I don't know how to put it in exact words. So that
Oh,
actually
that's
helped
good.
me to have an understanding of how this whole thing works. So sometimes when God has a plan for you, just go with the flow. You can be at this crappy job for now, but at the later stage, somehow it will benefit you. And that's what happened to me actually. So I have an idea how the electricity works around, how the plumbing is done, how the tiling needs to be done, how the painting needs to be done. And yeah, it all started there after
That's
school.
very important. No, that's very very important, because when most people get into like fix and flip, most people are coming from a background of maybe not coming from construction. I've never really done fix and flip. I've always held for the long term, but I would buy and I would renovate. And I hear what you're saying. So someone like me who doesn't come from construction, we learn the hard way. What goes in. I used to just coordinate the workers on site and that sort of thing. So I think it does help if you are actually in the trenches. Okay, so maybe tell me about your first deal. What was the first deal that you did, and tell us how you found that deal?
Okay, that the first deal I had, because I was still, when you're renting all over the show, that you learn these things from a landlord perspective, how landlord should act as a tenant. You think, oh, landlord should have done this, landlord should have done that. So in 2019, me and my wife, we decided that no, listen here, let's buy property and see what we can do with it. Eventually, at the time, it was from an old lady. So it was in a complex. It was 2 bedroom. One bathroom. So it was from an old lady, and we went into the place. My wife didn't like the place because it was run down, and then she saw the building cupboards. The door was hanging askew. The tiles were all shattered. And then when I walk into a property, I don't know. Some people say it's like a gift. Some people say just you need to go and study, but there was a guy I met who said, no, you have a gift of seeing these things. And at the time, as I go through the property, I can already visualize like what it needs to look like, how it needs to, like in a couple of months time after I'm done with the tiling, how the tiling needs to look, how the building cupboards need to look, and all of that. Like the pictures I shared with you. So it was from an old lady at the time. So she wanted to move out, live with the son and all of that. And it was a ground floor unit, and it had a nice green garden, nice flowers, all of that. So outside it was looking all nice. Inside the house it was not so nice. So eventually,
So
what
it was
happened
in a
was
complex.
in a complex, yeah, ground floor unit at a good price. At the time, I didn't know how to calculate because I never had a mentor. I never had someone to show me like do this, do that. So I was just going in from the knowledge that I've gained from the books and the YouTube videos that I've gained so far. And then I went in with an offer. I said, okay, let me buy this thing for. It was on the market for 500,000. So
Right.
obviously, there's this on the videos. It will tell you, listen, you make money when you buy.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had that in mind. So I told myself, listen, to fix up this thing, I'll need about say 50,000. So okay, to myself, let me go with offer of 450,000. So I left the offer there. I told them, listen here, I don't know what the outball game is. They said, no, give her 3 days notice. They must come back to you in 3 days. So I told the Esther, listen here, come back to me in 3 days. So I made a 450 offer. Eventually, it was declined. So we back and forth, back and forth. So we settled on 465 because that 5,000 was to get rid of the other person who also made an offer on the property because I already saw what the property is worth. So the strategy that we had around that was just to flip the property, live there, and move on to the next property. So that was the whole strategy that we had at the time. So after fixing up the place, my wife was like, wow, I can see why the guy said that thing about talent and all of that, that you have the gift. So I spent to fix the property was like around say 35 to 40,000 rand. So I got some good deals over here and there. Managing was okay. It was okay because obviously from a laborer to like a project manager, it's a big step for myself. So I had to get the guys in. So I got some guys, the guys normally sit at the Tile Africa. Got myself a tiler over there. Then I met a painter from there on, met the builder. So all of these guys I met along the way. Yeah, so eventually, so after a year or so, we lived in the property. Then we bought another one. And when you rent out the property, you tell yourself, like, these books are real. Whatever you read inside the books, whatever the videos that you watch, it's really a reality. I mean, you always see these things on TV, but when it's a reality, when it hits yourself, you're like, wow, it's really happening. Getting that first SMS to say, listen here, you got some rent money in, or listen here, you've just sold the property. There's this
So
big chunk of
let me ask you this. So how from the time you bought it, how long did it take you to renovate?
The renovation about around that one took me about roughly 3-4 weeks. I think the fourth week we bought furniture. So
Okay.
around about 3-4 weeks with the furniture, and then we took up the picture. We took some pictures like the one I sent you.
So what exactly did you renovate in that property? Where did you see the work that needs to be done?
I normally go into a property like this specific one was everything had to be done because you had the cigarette smell, all over the cupboards, all over the property, cigarette butts, even the bathroom had that yellow stains on it. So what I did, I just went in boss. I just took out all the tiles, all the old cupboards, all the old doorknobs, all of them. I left the doors because those things they are quite expensive. So I've painted them a nice color, like the ones that you saw in the picture. It was like a moon gray color with a white surface as well.
Okay, so basically you renovated most of that unit, but I mean there were no big renovations in terms of structural. You basically
No,
possibly changed things like the tiles. Did you do the kitchen? Because normally a kitchen and a
yeah,
bathroom would cost
100%.
would be the most expensive part. So did you redo the kitchen or did you just take the car? So I'll tell you and give you an example. We went into a unit where the cupboards on the outside look bad. But when I looked at the
Mm.
carcass of the unit, the
The old
kitchen unit, I
skeleton.
thought, look, the carcass is still fine. So all I did was I just put on new doors. I just changed the doors and I
Mhm.
put on edging.
Look on this one, I had a different vision in my mind. So I was going to use the old carcasses, the skeletons. So in that fact, I told myself, no, man, let me start from scratch because I did some woodworking back then, built my son's cupboard, and even there at my mom's house up in Cape Town. So I told myself, listen, let me go boss with this thing because let me be innovative. Because at the time, I was also preparing for our wedding as well, so things needed to be looking good at the time.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah,
So you did the
and
kitchen
so
and the bathroom.
kitchen, bathroom, the two rooms, brand new cupboards. So I did my own design over there.
Okay.
Um, rough
And how long
sketches,
did you live? How long did you live in this unit before selling it?
Um, I think we lived there for a year and a half or so, a year and a half. Then we wanted to sell immediately, but then I told my wife, listen, yeah, man, let's see how because we wanted that strategy of the whole rental thing. I told my wife, listen, let's rent it out and see how it goes. Eventually after renting it, we saw no, this thing is not working out fast. The cash flow is not that good. Um, it's in a minus, but not that in a minus of thousands and thousands. So it was in hundreds. So I said no, man. So then obviously to myself, no, this is not working out for myself. Obviously levies go up. That's the only thing you do. You don't have control over the property if you living in a complex. That's the only thing I hated at the time. The lack of
That's
control.
very, very true, and that's why, and there's a strategy to doing these deals, which hopefully in another session we'll speak about it. Otherwise, our call will go on for way too long. I think what I want to get into right now is how did you finance this deal? So you found this property, you got it for 465. I'm assuming you took a bond.
Yes, 100%.
Did you take 100% bond?
I took the 100% bond. Bond. The bank offered me that. So at the time, I didn't have money with me. Only thing I had was the transfer money to pay
Okay.
the attorneys.
And how much did
So
the transfer? How much did all those legal fees come up to? Do you recall?
the legal fees was around about say 30 plus around there. Obviously,
Yeah,
you negotiate
about
for some.
30,000.
Yeah.
So how did you finance the renovation component?
With regards to the renovations, I worked some overtimes, and then obviously um, that helped me a lot. The overtime money as well, because I know what I want. I know the amount of money that I need. So whatever overtime there was at work, I was grabbing it with both hands because there's a certain period that I wanted to fix up this place of mine. So eventually, at the
Right, you know what,
time,
this is what Jason is saying now. Jason, it's such an important point what you are saying right now, because I think back to when I was renovating. I had a job and I had a car sound
yeah,
business. I was selling car sound on the side and we were installing car sound. That was sort of my extra income. And what I would do with some of the money from the car sound business, it would go straight into the renovation of the properties that I was buying.
yeah,
So if a
definitely.
property was going to cost me 20, 30,000 Rand to renovate, the money was basically coming from my car sound business, some of the profits, and I would send it in there. Whereas when you think what most people do with extra income, they might take it and maybe go buy some mags for the car or something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100%.
Liabilities instead of that assets that appreciate. But this is a very important point that
Yeah,
if you're getting into property flips, if you are not getting 100% funding from the bank, you need to have another cash flow source, which could come in
yeah,
the form of overtime, like what you did, or it could come from another side hustle, whatever that side hustle is. And then you need
mhm,
to have a vision that I'm not going to waste this money. I'm going to take this money and it's going into my property vision.
yeah,
So thanks for sharing that. So basically, how you finance the deal was
yeah.
100% bond. You had some cash to cover the legal fees, and then you had some overtime money to cover the renovation costs, right?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
It would help a
So
lot.
now
Don't.
let's but you see what's important here is I always tell people whenever you're doing a deal like this, always make sure that you've got all the money that you require to do the renovation, make the purchase, cover all the legal fee costs, because the worst position to be in is to buy something, not have enough to renovate it, and that's how you end up with these incomplete properties that we see
Mhm.
everywhere. Because when the person went in, they didn't go in with a plan. They went in with the idea that, you know what, I'll see what happens. And you can't
Mhm.
go in like that unless you have a very big savings balance sitting somewhere that you
Exactly.
can always rely on. So that is very important. So I think what I want to ask you next is, as much as you did keep it for a year, did you make it for a profit? Because when I calculate, you bought it for 465. You put in, let's call it 30,000 for the legal fees, so that takes you to
Mhm.
495, and then you
Mhm.
spent, let's call it another 40 odd thousand. So let's say you spent 640,000 on the property. What did you ultimately sell it for?
So if I calculate all that
Sorry,
money together,
540. Sorry, 540. My mistake. You
yeah,
were into 540.
yeah. So obviously I paid some extra on the bond as well, just to help with the interest rate and all of that. So we sold it for because we always had an exit strategy. That's what I learned, to have an exit strategy at all cost. So we listed a property at 580 and got full price on it for 580 because currently now with the market, it's not doing that well when it comes to selling a property because of the interest rate that's so high. If I had sold it back in 2020 or 2021, I was gonna get more than that. So actually, after getting that money's out, we then invested that money and bought another property like the one I shared with you a couple of weeks ago, which is sitting on a lot of equity, a lot of equity. I can't believe that
Okay.
sitting on that amount of equity.
Okay, so that first deal, if you look at it, it didn't make you a huge profit, but at least
No,
you got
not,
some
yeah,
capital out, and it gave
yeah.
you a sort of a
Mm.
push to get into the next one. Okay, so what has been the positives about property flipping for you?
I think the whole positive thing around it was also to meet new people. I think to meet new people, also to bring that vision that we have inside of you, to bring it to life. It's a remarkable thing. Over and above that, you need to sell it. You also need to look at it from a buyer's perspective and also a tenant perspective. That when they move into this property, they need to go like, wow, like the one that we renovated and fixed and renovated up now. I think we're looking for tenants. We are currently sitting at now. I'm staying now. So we're looking for tenants for like I think the agent put it on for a first day. I think the second or third day got a tenant. They immediately
Wow.
signed. So that
Okay.
was for me. It was like the turnaround point to say, listen here, man. If this thing can happen like as it is, you can move on to the next one, the next one, the next one. So it's repetition all the time. So
Okay.
it actually, so the flat when we sold the flat, so even though we spent that lot of money for renovations and all around that, when we got the money back after the sale, was quite a lot of money. So I was telling my wife, listen here, we have all this money. This money is just a sitting duck. I know I'm moving away from the question now. I'm just excited about the whole thing. This
No,
money is
but
just a
what you're
sitting
saying
duck.
is right because you know what, I always tell, especially the fix and flippers.
Yeah.
I always tell them that what you're doing is great. You move. The thing is, you're moving cash. But I always say
Mm.
combine a fix and flip strategy with a rental strategy,
Yes,
so that
100%.
if you look at it as a calendar year, January to December, what you could do is from January to say June. In
Mm-hmm.
January, hopefully, you could buy a property that you plan on renovating. And let's say it takes you
Mm-hmm.
3 months to renovate. So by March,
Yeah.
hopefully you've renovated it. And then
Yeah.
by June, maybe you've sold it. The money that you make from selling, if you are able to do a good deal in the second half of the year, you can hopefully buy one rental property for cash. And then you won't have an issue where your rental property is not making profit anymore because you don't have any bond to pay. It's a fully paid off property. So the
Yeah.
best strategy that I say for guys in fix and flip is fix and flip for 6 months. And then with the profits, if you did well, or even if it takes you a whole year, in the following year, you could then take your profits. Maybe you fix and flip for a whole year. The following year, you buy 2 units or two
Yeah.
properties for
100%.
cash. And then you're growing your portfolio as well. That works out very brilliantly. So let's go on to the negatives. What have been, because I don't believe that there's positives in every business. What are some
Yeah, I
of the
know.
negatives that you've experienced in property flipping?
I think the negatives around it is I couldn't calculate like the whole return on investment, all of that. If I knew all of that, I would have been much better off with the first deal. I would have made a lot of money with the first deal because I was still new to the thing. I said, okay, no, 465 is a good offer. Even though it was a good offer at the time, like that 550, that 100,000 difference, it didn't look so good when you sell the property. Even for rental, it was not rental friendly. So it was always on a negative with the cash flow. So that was the one negative part. The other one was always for contractors, like managing the contractors. That's one of the most difficult because they need to bring the vision to life. They're the
Yes.
ones doing all the hard work. We have this vision in our head. We also have it on a piece of paper, but then you need to be around to make sure this vision comes to life, to make sure that the next person is buying a property will actually see and come and say, listen here, this home, it is a home, even though it feels like a home. But on the other side, it feels like I'm in a luxury home, like that sort of vibe. Like I had this other lady coming over the other day. She was telling me, you know what? Whenever I walk in this property of yours, it feels like I'm in a holiday house. And I was just laughing. No,
I only,
yes,
I've only got two questions left, but there's something I want to
yeah.
ask you, and I know the
No, it's
answer to this
fine.
because
It's fine.
you and I have been speaking anyway on WhatsApp. We've been
Yeah.
speaking every now and again. These days, how do you go about finding your deals?
Yeah, that's very interesting. So for the past, ever since we sold the unit, so we have this amount of legal fees ready, and we have like a deposit ready if need be, and a lot, obviously material money and all of that. So I didn't find satisfaction with regards to estate agents, because nowadays the price of the houses are still up there. So it's difficult to find some deals, especially when some rich guys come. Obviously, for myself, I don't have an investor. The bank is my investor. So that one, ups to the bank for believing in people like us. You know, starting it off with nothing and getting to somewhere or something one day. So up to the bank. Thank you for that. And so with regards to the question that you asked, so I go about driving around neighborhoods, you know, scouting the area. Is this a good area to buy in? I can actually calculate it now. I formed my own formula, how much I need to offer for a property in a certain area, how much it's selling for, what my returns be. And obviously, what's nice about it, I can evaluate the place without actually having a builder with me or electrician with me because I already have an idea how to run the numbers. And then obviously those people that when they clean the gardens early in the morning, I would go and drive around Saturdays. I beat Saturday, Sunday. Or there's always some people cleaning the gardens. I would just chat with them. Listen here, what do you think about your property? Are you thinking about selling it in future? When about do you think you would be selling it? Like obviously you don't go directly with that question. You talk with them and ask them, listen here about the property. You have to chat. You chat with them as a friend. You chat to a
You
person.
make conversation. But I'm asking you
Yes.
this because when I do content, a lot of people ask me, where do I find good deals? And what Jason is basically saying here, he knocks on doors. He goes
Yeah.
from, if he
Yeah.
sees a
Yeah.
property he's interested in, he sees when he can get a hold of the owner, and then he approaches the owner directly. That's basically what you're saying.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And I remember a very big investor when I worked in the bank. I used to finance a lot of property developers. And there was a very big developer who wanted to do a development in Bedford View. And there was a house he was interested in for a long time.
Mhm.
And he told me the story of how he got the house. And he told me that he would go up. There was also an old lady living there. And he would
Yeah.
go there and he would buy coffee and then he would buy donuts and cake and go and
Yeah,
sit and
exactly
just have
that. Exactly
conversations
that.
with her. Yeah, just have conversations and build that relationship over
Yeah,
time, over a few weeks, and then eventually, when the deal, eventually came out with it that what, would you ever consider selling the property? And another person was a lot more comfortable. They gotta be comfortable with you. So thanks for
100%.
that. I think that's important information where people must know that you don't. I'm not saying don't go to estate agents, but I'm saying sometimes you can find better deals if you literally walk door to
100%.
door in the neighborhood that you've chosen to do your business in. Okay, Jason, just literally two questions left. If
No,
you
it's
could
fine.
start all over again, if you could start all over again, what would you do differently?
Uh, you know, at this point, I think it would have been much better if I had a mentor with me. That would have been tops for myself. So at the moment, I'm doing everything myself. Obviously, along the line, I did meet someone that educate me a lot around property. It's actually one of my best friends now. Um, so he's teaching me about property. So I met him at a later stage in my life, but there's no right time, there's no wrong time for that particular person to be in your life. So if I had a mentor back then, it would have been brilliant, brilliant. Also an investor, but obviously that will come as time go on, where there's someone who would be interested to invest in a certain property with me and all of that. So yeah, I think that would have been one of the things.
Getting a mentor. Okay,
Yeah.
I've got one question, but now see the questions just coming. How many deals have you done so far? Fix and flips. I'm not talking
So
about, okay, well, deals in total.
deals is one, two, three, four. So I'm going for the fourth one now. So the
Okay.
fourth one now, yeah, going for that one now. So this one is one that I want to hold on to. It's got some good equity. So obviously I'm gonna follow the bylaws of the whole council. So that needs to happen. So it's a house. It's got cottage on there. It's perfectly situated. Already whatever I need to do is already there with the two gates. So tenant will have its own gate. The what you call it will have its own gate. The other tenant as well. Yeah. So this
Okay.
one I'm gonna hold on to. So this is the fourth one. So when I worked out the numbers, it's a good deal. It's really a good deal.
Awesome.
I know there was another deal I spoke to you about a month ago, but this one also it's one of the good deals. When you knock on doors, it's a private sale. It's something that I've loved. Even the house where I'm staying now was a private sale. Yeah. So at private sales, there's before the agent gets to it. You need to get there and get it yourself, you
There's
know.
the tip. So that's the big tip. Where you can try and get there before the agent does. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the people out there, right, what advice would you give other people that are looking to get into the fix and flip property strategy?
Yeah, because I'm a newbie in the whole thing, it's difficult to give advice to people that's been in the game for some time. I think for the newbies out there, if you want to start flipping, you know, when you doubt yourself, that worry that you have, that's your breakthrough. You need to grasp onto that thought and just go get what's yours, you know. Don't be afraid to do the flip thing. There's always people out there that will show you how to do it, be it the builder, be it the plumber. Those people that they will show you if you maybe not have an answer to whatever questions they will ask. You know, sometimes these guys will ask you questions like, do you know it needs to be like that? Then you have another suggestion. Then they have maybe a better suggestion. So it's always be open-minded when it comes to the whole flipping thing. Listen to suggestions from other people. I had some brilliant suggestions when I flipped the second property, whereby I wanted a door in a certain way, and the guy said, no, do it in that way. Also with regards to the kitchen, some ideas around that. So yeah, I mean, it's always listen to your builders. I mean, they knowledgeable. They've been in the game for some time, so they will give you all the necessary tools that you need to grow. Like I said before, I was a laborer before, but I'm still learning as I go along this journey. And yeah,
Great
there's
stuff, Jason. I think
so much.
you and I will speak a lot more in the future. I'm very excited to see where you're going. Thanks for keeping me updated. You know, when this goes onto the website, I will take some of those photos, those before and after photos,
Yeah,
so
definitely,
people can see
definitely.
some of the properties that you've done. You know, so
Yeah.
they can see how you brought your vision to life. But thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your day and sharing your story with us. Hopefully, it inspires others. So thanks again, and good luck with all the deals that are going to come your way.
Amen.